Hello everyone and welcome to Part 2 Strings. Strings in Python are used to hold text information and are indicated with the use of either single quotes or double quotes. They are a sequence of characters, meaning they can also be indexed using the bracket notation. Let's explore the basics of strings, some useful methods, and more with Python. Let's go to the editor now. Okay, so in this lecture we'll cover some string basics such as creating strings and printing strings. Then we'll talk about string indexing and slicing, some basic methods for strings, and then how to use print or string interpolation. Okay, so to start off with the very basics, with a string you can either use single quotes, like this, or double quotes, like this. And if you want a single quote or double quote within a string itself, just use the other quote to wrap it. So what I mean by that is, if you want to type something that says, I'm a dog, and you want this to be a string, notice it has a single quote inside of it, so you can just wrap that in double quotes, and now it's a string. So you don't get an error with this single string or single quote right there. All right, those are the string basics. Now, something that is sometimes confusing to beginners is how to actually index and grab things from the string sequence. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about that. And to show this, since the basics are almost the same as JavaScript, let's show some indexing with an example. I will say my string is equal to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then let's print my string. We'll save that. And down here, this is saved in a file called strings.py inside of this folder location. So I will say Python strings.py, hit enter, and I get out my string. Perfect. If I want to actually grab a single element, all I have to do is use the square bracket notation and then pass in the index location of the actual element I want. Indexing starts at 0 with Python, so if I want the very first letter in the string, which is A, all I have to do is pass in square brackets after the variable name, 0. And then that returns A. If I want the very last one, Python strings support negative indexing, so I can type -1, which means if I run this now, I get G out. And if I want anything else in the middle, then I just count its index location. So for instance, if I want the letter D, that's at index 0, 1, 2, 3. Pass in 3, and I should get out the letter D when I run this script. And there it is. Okay, now let's talk about slicing. Slicing is something that confuses beginners at first, so let's make it very clear by breaking down the steps. There's going to be 3 parts to slicing: the beginning of the slice, the end of the slice, and then later on the step size. We don't need to always define the step size, so let's start off by defining the beginning of the slice. If I want to grab everything starting from the index 2 all the way to the end of the string, then I just have to type in a colon. So if I run this right now, I get the letters out C, D, E, F, G. And basically what this command says is start at index 2, which is the letter C, 0, 1, 2, and grab everything all the way to the end of the string. That's what the colon here stands for. So let's imagine I want to grab everything from letter E all the way to the end, so E, F, and G. Then I just need to count out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a colon to go all the way to the end. And if I run this, I get E, F, G. All right, now let's discuss how to do slicing if you want to start at the beginning but go up to a certain index. The way you do that is you essentially reverse this. So you say colon, and then type the index you want to go up to. But this is sometimes a little confusing for beginners. Because indexing starts at 0, Python is going to grab everything up to, but not including that index. So if I run this command right now, :3, it goes A, B, and C. You may have expected D, the letter at index 3, to be included. But for Python index slicing notation, it only goes up to, but not including that index. So again, what we're here telling Python to do is to grab everything from 0 up to, but not including index 3. And you'll notice this a lot in Python, where statements are usually in the context of up to, but not including. And that main idea is because indexing starts at 0. And moving along, we can expand this idea to define a starting point and define an ending point. So let's imagine that I want to grab the letters C, D, and E. What I have to do in this case is define the starting point, which happens at index 2. Then I write a colon and define the ending point, which is up to but not including a particular index. So we'll see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to go up to but not including 5, and this should get me these 3 letters, C, D, and E. If I run this, there is C, D, and E. So take your time with this. A good practice for you, if you're having trouble with this slicing notation, is to make a really long string, and then in your mind, think of some letters you want to grab in the middle of it, and then practice grabbing them. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention about slicing is that you can actually define step size. So if you want to grab everything in a string, you just have to say colon, colon, or even just a single colon, and that will return, if we run this, the entire string. If you want to define a step size, what you do is you say colon, colon, which basically stands for all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end, and then a number or integer for your step size. So if a step size of 1, it grabs everything. But if I make this a 2 and then run the code, it ends up skipping every other. So the step size becomes 2. It goes in jumps of 2, so A, C, E, G. Okay, those are the very basics of slicing, and we'll talk about it more when we actually deal with strings in Django, but that's all you need to know for now. As a quick note, strings are immutable, meaning I cannot say my string, grab a particular index location, and then try to redefine it. So I can't say something like my string of 0 is equal to x, because if I try to run this, I will get an error saying str, or a string object, does not support item assignment, meaning a string is immutable in that fashion. I could always redefine the string to be something completely different, but that will just delete everything and redefine the variable itself. Okay, now I want to talk about a couple of basic methods that are built into strings. A really useful method sometimes that you may find yourself using is upper. And upper is a method, and you can actually see Adam is beginning to help me as I type upper here. But what it does is it returns a copy of the string converted to uppercase. So we can save this, and let's define this as x, and then say print x. So I will save this and run it, and now I see I get an uppercase version of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the opposite of upper is lower. Whoops, spelled that wrong. Well, we can see right there, lower. And you can actually see that as I say my string dot, I get a bunch of methods available for me. Adam is helping me out here. We won't use a lot of these methods, but remember that they're all here to help you. If you have any questions on one of these methods, feel free to post to the Q&A forum, but a lot of these will actually be defined as you begin to type them out. So let's say I wanted to learn what capitalize does. Well, then I just start typing capitalize, and as I do that, we see right here what's known as the function or method docstring, and it tells you it returns a copy of the string s with only its first character capitalized. So unlike upper, if I select capitalize and then run this, I notice that only the first letter, A, is capitalized. And that's the difference between capitalize and upper. The last method I want to show you, which is really useful, is the split method, which ends up splitting a string. So if I just run this right now, I get a single item in a list. But let's imagine I had multiple words here. So I say hello world, save this, and run my code. Then I get a list in Python, which we'll cover in the next lecture, that has hello as its first item and world as its second item. And basically what split does, it allows you to split on anything you want for a string. And we've actually used this before in a similar case in JavaScript, but let's imagine that I wanted to split on the letter E. By default, it splits on white space, which is why we got hello world, but if I wanted to split on the letter E, I run this, and notice I get back H, the E is popped out because we split on it, and then everything else becomes a second item in my list. I could also do it for something that shows up more than once, such as O, and now if I run this, I get hell space W, next item is RLD. Okay, so that's the basics of split. Finally, I want to talk about print formatting with Python. So let's show you how we can do that. So there's many methods that you can use what's known as string interpolation, which is basically trying to input a string into another string. The best way to do it is with the .format method. And I will show you the basic way to do this. You say some string, so I will insert another string here, and then you have curly brackets, note the syntax highlighting there, and then off of the string, you call format, and then pass in whatever you want to insert. So we'll say insert me. Save this, and now let's run this. And we haven't actually printed this yet, so let's say this is equal to x, and then print x. Save that. Run this, and now it says insert another string here, and it says insert me. Okay, perfect. Now let's say I wanted to insert multiple strings. How do I do that? Well, all I have to do is say item 1, and then just pass in, let's say, item 2, another set of curly brackets. And over here in format, we just pass in multiple strings. So we can say something like dog is our first item, comma, pass in another string, cat as a second item. We will save this, and then we can print x, and we get item 1, dog, item 2, cat. What's also nice about this .format method is you can actually define variables inside of this format. So I can say something like x is equal to dog, and then y is equal to cat. And then inside of these curly brackets, I can pass in x and y, and it will come back here to format and read what x and y stand for. So if I save this and run this, I get back the exact same result. But what's nice about this is I can easily switch out the order or double up on things. So I can switch out the order here, and if I run this now, I get item 1 is cat, item 2 is dog. Or I can have them both print out x, which is dog. So then it says item 1 dog, item 2 dog. And this is how you're going to see format most of the time. It's curly brackets, a specific variable that you defined over here in format, and then you just call it there. Okay, that's the very basics of string formatting and strings in general. If you have any questions, feel free to post to the Q&A forums. But as far as this course is concerned, that's really all you need to know. Thanks, and I'll see you at the next lecture.